Hey Flosstube, it's Lori of Mischievous Stitches. I'm back again for the second episode of Stash Dive. On Saturday we left off at the bottom half of one of the drawers. So I'm going to finish that up and then we'll work on the other drawer. So hold on, get your notepad and a little something to sip on and we'll get started. The first couple of patterns I've got here are Silver Creek Samplers, and this is Forever Love. The sun is coming right in right there, so let me pull this up a little bit towards me so you can see the patterns without problems. I was lucky enough to meet Diane of Silver Creek Samplers at Pal's Cross Stitch Retreat in Myrtle Beach. She came for several years. One year she sat at our table. She's just a lovely person. And the last year that we were there, she had set up a market table and had all or most of her designs there for display, and they are so sweet. I've got several of them. These are just a couple that are just happen to be in this drawer, but this is Forever Love, and then this is Happy Halloween. This one was in a Just Cross Stitch magazine at one point, and the colors on this just doesn't do it justice. It's a beautiful piece, fun and whimsical. I really like it. And then we've got Stacey Nash Primitives. This is 12 Days of Christmas Sewing Roll. I do love Stacey Nash. I love her prim finishes. She's a great designer. Problem is, I'm not a great finisher. I'm working on that. As you can see this week, I'm trying to get better about finishing things up. And, you know, the more you finish, the more you learn. The more, you know, questions you have, you answer. There's a wealth of knowledge on the other end of this camera, you guys. And so when I have a question, I know that I can throw it out there. And some stitcher is going to have the answer to that question. But this is 12 Days of Christmas Sewing Roll. And this is Stephanie Seabrook Hedge Path. This is called Sword Gate. It reminds me of the Barbara and Cheryl designs that all of them were done on the coast of South Carolina. And it would be gates of Charleston and some of the houses there on the coast. And this reminded me of that, and I really liked that gate. One day I will stitch it. That's a full coverage piece. And these are the type of things that when I was in my early 20s, that was what I would stitch, would be Barbara and Cheryl. At one point I was into Mirabilias. And just over time my tastes have changed, but I still do love some of these other designs. And then this is Birth of Jesus. This is the Stitching Parlor. This is another that pattern picture gives it no justice. I was visiting a local shop to me, which is Stitch and Frame Shop in Rock Hill, South Carolina, just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. And they had this up as a model. So when you go into their shop, the entranceway to the shop, there's some shelving units up above your head. And so they have different models on the wall below it, but then different models propped up on the shelf above. And I went in one day and this was there, and it was absolutely stunning. And the funny thing was, I was on my way out the door. I already had a bag full of stuff, and I had to turn right around and pick this pattern up because I didn't notice it when I come in. This is Stitch with Sudbury Sampler 3. This is just finishes to help you finish on top of the Sudbury boxes. So this is an older piece. It's not a new piece. Let's see if it has a year on it. I think it's been out for some time. I don't see a date, but it's by Donna Vermillion Gompa. And this is the Needlework Sampler. This is a Sue Hillis piece, and I've got the fabric in there, but this particular piece was was stitched in a blue colorway on the wall in my local stitch shop when it was open. And I think I'm going to put this to the side because I'd like to stitch this and it shouldn't take much time. But there's a pin cushion and spools. There's some antique buttons, a charm, a heart charm, scissor charm. There's a few specialty stitches, open eyelets, sheaf stitch, rice stitch. But there's nothing on here that if you've only done cross stitch, don't be intimidated by those specialty stitches. The majority of them are just what you're doing with cross stitch. It's just needle up in the thread, needle down in the thread. You've got this. This particular pattern, I'm looking at the instructions on the back. Once again, this is by Sue Hillis. It's very self-explanatory. It's easy to follow. So don't be intimidated by that. If you see a piece that you like, and this I think would be a perfect starter piece because you can stitch it on an even weave fabric if you're not used to, used to linen, and just go for it. But this design came out in 1996, and I think I found the shop in 1997. Maybe 1998. I think it was it was 96 because I had Chelsea that year, and that was the year I found the shop. Okay, this is another piece. This is Sunflower Seed, Celtic Birds. So it's like a fractor piece. And this is actually kitted up. I have a piece of 32 count tin roof and Eringo Emerald thread, and that's a Classic Color Works. And this is a Professor Frisbee. This is by Terrence Nolan. I've got a freebie one of his. I do have one of them up in my stitch room, and it's actually behind me on the wall, and it's a bumblebee. And I bought a few other of his Wee Beastie series because I just really like them, and I enjoyed stitching the bumblebee. And I stitched the bumblebee first because as a little girl, my father, there's two different types of bumblebees, and one has a little, I want to say a yellow spot on the back of it. I wouldn't say neck, but a back of its body, and one doesn't. And one, it will sting and one will not. And as a little girl, he knew which one would sting and which one wouldn't. And he would catch them and he would put them in his shirt pocket so that I could get them out and hold them. So just a sweet memory, and that's why I stitched it. But there are several of this. So I've got this is the Purple Wannabe. And this is Wee Beasties Part 1. Wee Beasties Part 3. Part 5. And Part 6. This is another Theron tradition. I showed you a few yesterday. This is New England Schoolgirl Sampler. I know there's some of you out there that's been working on this. It's a beautiful piece. I enjoy watching other people stitch on it. I love the colors in this one. And this is by 13th Colony. And this is just Welcome, a pineapple welcome. And I always thought that this would look wonderful in my dining room. And this is Thistle Threads. This is Tent Stitch Etui. Once again, finishing intimidates me. Beautiful piece. Stitching would not be a problem. Finishing would. And here's another Thistle Threads, Bunny in the Garden. Threadwork Primitives, A Bee's Gathering. I bought this last year after seeing it on Jen Stitching Itch's video. I think she had finished it up last year. I don't know, I can't remember if she had finished it up into the roll, but she had finished the stitching, and I thought it was beautiful. And it seems like we go in, I don't know, last year seemed to be about bees. There were so many things about bees. And this year there were a lot of tomato releases, so the tomato pincushion. So it's interesting to see the releases each year and to see what's popular with the stitchers, because we travel in the same circles. So when something catches on, it just circles around to everyone. Okay, Threadwork Primitives again, Christmas fruit basket. And then this one here has caught my eye. I bought this I visited a shop in Tennessee, and I went into their little discount box and I found a Threads of Gold piece. They didn't have any other Threads of Gold, and I learned that they're older patterns, so of course when I get home I'm on eBay, and I found this one, and I absolutely, positively just love it. I really need to stitch it. I don't know what it is about it that it just draws me in. I think it's 268 by 443. That's a lot of stitching, but this is an amazing piece. I'm going to put that to the side. I need to put that to the side. I'm rediscovering things, guys. Okay, this is Seize the Day by Silver Creek Samplings again, Diane. And I think I got this from her at the Pals Retreat. My thinking was that, you know, depending on what size fabric you stitch it on, it would be the great cover piece for a needle book. And this is Wedding Day, Sue Hills Designs. I picked that one up just, you know, for the very reason it's a pattern that you could definitely reuse over and over for gifts. And then this is the Witch School Sampler. I don't know that I'd ever stitched this. I think this came as in a grab bag from somewhere. Yes, it did. It came from my local shop. It's now closed. This is dated 2009. And this is Tempting Tangles Designs. I bought this one. This is First Light, and then there was Light. I'm going to have to hold it back from here. The sun's shining just weird coming through the window there. But this is the Creation Sampler by the same designer. And if you look, like this part here is similar to the corners on this one. So it's like this is a miniature kind of this design. Excuse me. And then this is Willow Hill Samplings. This is Alice's Lament. And this is Cinderella Sampler. And although I like these, and I bought these some time ago, the thing that held me back from them is just the spacing on it. It's so wide open to me. It's as cute as it can be, but you see what I mean? It just seems like there's just a lot of empty space. And I would want it more condensed. And by the same designer, this is Home Sweet Home. Excuse me. And then Crossing the Delaware. And this is our own Ellen with My Needle. This is the Quaker Samplings 3. I love this. I need to pull it out. I was thinking of it the other day because I have 2 pieces on behind our desk. And this year I've got one more to add to it. And they're all long horizontal narrow horizontal pieces. And I want that to be just kind of Clint's wall. So when I want to do maybe one each year, one long horizontal piece. So I'm going to put that in that pile. And then this was actually one of my unicorn pieces, and I actually found it online and purchased it not long after starting to do Flosstube. This is a Most Noble Pursuit, and it is a sampler circle is what it's called, but there's several different designers that chipped in to make this piece, and it says it's a limited edition sampler is a group of 10 samplers. It's designed by a different designer using the theme women. We stitched the model on 36 count light exemplar by Lakeside Linen and silks. And the designers that stitched on this is Carriage House Samplings, Stitch in a Prayer, Lottie Daw, With My Needle, Patricia Ann Designs, Praiseworthy Stitches, The Work Basket, Bright Needle, Hands to Work, and Primitive Traditions. So it is out there. It's of course out of print. It is out there. If you look, just keep an eye on, do an eBay search, you'll be able to find it. And then this is a Brenda Gervais. This is Boo. And a Words of Praise. This is a Hospitality Sampler. And I hesitate to even show you this because even if it's close up, I don't know that you're necessarily going to see because this is just an old pattern. It's by hand. They're beautiful pieces. I'd stitched one earlier this year that had been kitted, but just a beautiful piece. All right, that was that drawer is complete. I'm going to start on the other drawer. Oops, hold on. That pattern actually got folded, so I don't want it to be folded. Okay, let's see. What do we have in this one? I don't go through these often. You know, sometimes I'm sitting there thinking about processing what I might want to stitch next, or some situation or something comes up and I'm one that I know that I have pops up in my mind, or I see one on Flosstube and I'm like, oh, I've got that, let me go pull it. But for the most part, I don't just search through them, but you know, maybe once every year and a half. So this is, a lot of you say you've enjoyed it, but I'm enjoying it too, because just like with these two, I'm pulling out ones that, you know, I've forgotten about, ones that I want to stitch. So this is a Christmases of Old, and this is from Threads of Gold. It's just a little Christmas ornament. And this was a freebie design collaboration. It was by Just Man and Shepherd's Bush, but it's just the pattern. They were freebies, and they had done the same three designers had done one shortly before this Christmas one, and I had bought it and stitched it. It's on my wall in the stitch room, and so I got that one, but I've never stitched it. Holly Hobby. I can't throw that one away. I loved Holly Hobby as a little girl. And remember the dress I showed a few videos back that my mom brought to me, but it was in shades of pink? I always loved this this colorway for Holly Hobby, the oranges. This is Abby Rose design. This is Share the Joy of Christmas. I've seen several of you stitch this. It's a beautiful piece. I love the colors. I'm going through some. I don't think I like this one. You can't even see the pattern. This is Birds of a Feather. This is Alphabet Sampler. I bought this shortly after starting Flosstube, after seeing Abby Bella stitch it. So I have the threads. I don't think I have the fabric, but I've got the threads, and it's a beautiful piece. And this is a little Quakeresque by Blue Ribbon Designs. I always love that. It's just an interesting piece. It's not something you see. There's nothing similar to it. And this is a Butternut Rose. This is the Spirit Dancer. I have both this one and the younger version where the Indian lady is younger. I wanted to stitch those, and just like with the my father's frame that I showed you a couple of videos back, I wanted to do both of them and hang them to display them with the arrowheads, framed arrowheads that we have, and now I have that picture as well, so there's that. And this is Quaker Virtues. This is a BAP, a Bygone Stitches. I've had this for a long time. And I think there's one that's a Quaker with some of the, I think it's Christmas songs. And here's another. This is One Nation. And this next one was a gift from a Flosstube watcher. This is Cross Stitch Quilt Sampler. And it is quilted, but those are cross stitch pieces and not quilted. Excuse me. Not quilt pieces, it's cross stitch pieces that are quilted together into a quilt. But you could easily change the colorway, make it your own. And I've always loved this little piece. I need to stitch this. This is Sophie's Cottage by Cedar. Just a tiny little small, probably stitch up pretty fast. This is another Cedar. This is Bouquet for October. And I've got a few chatelaines, and I've stitched no chatelaines. This is Misty Morning Vineyard with the peacocks. And then I have Egypt Garden, because I have a love of everything Egyptian. And now we're to some Chessie and Me's. I've taken a class. She actually came down and held a class with our local group several years ago. And I bought some pieces from her then. This is the Mighty Oak Sampler. English Cottage Sampler. Mary Holt Sampler. Friendship Garden. Esther Idsen Sampler. Make Do Sampler. This one, I was actually at the beach when I purchased this last summer. Actually, summer before last. And it's two different pieces of fabric that are similar to this. It's the same situation as the new release from Heartstring and Scarlet House, where they're doing the piece and then sewing it together. Same situation here. And you've actually got 3 different fabrics. Then I have Grand Old Flag Sampler. Grant House Sampler. And Lincoln Home Sampler. That's another one that I seem to pick up a lot of things that have something to do with Lincoln. And I have the fabric for it. It looks like tin roof. Alright, and then I have the City Stitcher. I know I have not been on Flosstube long, and I saw a City Stitcher ad in one of the older magazines, and what I did was went online and found out that the designer is actually now designs quilt things, but had her cross stitch patterns. Let me scoot back some more. Cross stitch patterns were listed on that site, and they're like $5, so I threw it out on Flosstube. And I know it sent a lot of stitchers her way, but I often wondered what she thought, you know, when the orders started coming in, that these, you know, patterns had been around forever, and then all of a sudden everyone wants them. I honestly would have loved to see what that designer thought about it. But this is Into This Garden. This is the Adam and Eve Sampler. Weeping Tree. Starry Night. The Guide to Thee. Liberty Sampler. I think this one's one of my favorite. That one and this one, the Strawberry Sampler. And Prairie Farm Sampler. Then I've got cross stitch antiques. This is a market last year. This is a market last year order. I really need to start this. Band of Roses, 1845. Isn't that gorgeous? Now, this is the original. This isn't the completed piece, but this is the original. Then we've got Crosswing Collection. I'm not going to show that. I don't know where that come from. I don't know that I would even stitch that now. Nope. Drawn Thread. This is Full Moon. At one point, Drawn Thread was one of my favorite designers. And although I still like their designs, I don't stitch them nowhere near what I used to. And this is actually kitted. This is Spring Garden. Hope you can see it when I get it in the light like that. And then this is An Open Heart. Sunflower Bell Pull. My friend Laura gifted this one to me at New Jersey retreat. This is Alpine Garden. It has all the threads and the beads in there. And here's another one that I really want to start. This is Hannah Sanderson, 1849. This is Dutch Treat Designs. Oh my gosh, isn't that beautiful? And that's the original, that's not the conversion, the new one, the reproduction. Those in my stack. This is Elizabeth's Garden, Liz Matthews. It says, A Young Division of Barrack Samplers, A Tree for Thee. And this is The Gettysburg Address by Erica Michaels. And I think it is called A Few Appropriate Remarks. And it also has a smaller version inside. And then I'm going to show you, these are sheepish designs. This is Liberty Days. Let Virtue Reside. This is a beautiful, this is Twisted Threads. This isn't, both of them are, I said sheepish. Both of these are, excuse me, both of these are Twisted Threads. I love this one too. That goes in my pile. And this is a you and I. This is The House on Hollyhock Hill. That's a beautiful one. And Examplers from the Heart, the Greenhouse Sampler. Yep. This is, I'm not even going to begin to say it, it's a GGR. So it's a monochrome piece. And this is Golden Thread Designs, Band Sampler 1, Band Sampler 3. And this is where I'm going to stop today. I hope you've enjoyed me going through my stash, and I hope that to see you back again tomorrow. We'll finish this up, and if all this goes well and you're still enjoying yourself, I still have kits and binders. You guys have a great rest of your day. Stay healthy. Keep smiling. See you soon. Bye-bye.